For 2 millennia, a fundamental truth about the nature of reality has been fragmented, distorted, and kept away from the masses, not through deliberate conspiracy, but through something even more insidious, the gradual loss of knowledge that would completely transform our understanding of who we are and what we are capable of creating. This audiobook reveals the complete formula for manifestation, not the simplified, commercialized version you already know, but the original system that combines consciousness, elevated emotion, and the quantum field of infinite possibilities. A formula so powerful that it was practiced by ancient masters, encoded in sacred texts, and now validated by modern quantum physics. This is not just another book about the law of attraction. It is a portal to knowledge that has been preserved between the lines of sacred texts, within the secret practices of initiates, and is now confirmed by the most advanced neuroscience laboratories in the world. The question is not whether this formula works. It always has. The question is, are you ready to finally know it in its entirety? Chapter 1. The Knowledge That Was Fragmented. Discovering the Truth. Hidden between the lines. There's a reason why millions of people visualize, affirm, and hope for change, yet remain stuck in the same patterns year after year. It's not because the law of attraction doesn't work. It's because what you've been taught is only a fragment of the original formula, a piece so incomplete that it's like trying to start a car with only 2 of the 3 essential components. You can turn the key and press the gas all you want, but without the ignition spark, you're going nowhere. What I'm about to share with you has been hiding in plain sight for 2,000 years, scattered across ancient texts, whispered among mystery schools, and encoded in parables that most people read but never truly understand. This isn't conspiracy theory or mystical fantasy. This is documented history combined with cutting-edge quantum physics, revealing why the manifestation teachings you've encountered until now have left you feeling like something crucial is missing. Because something crucial is missing. Let me take you back to a time when this knowledge was whole, unified, and extraordinarily powerful. The ancient Hermetic masters understood something fundamental about the nature of reality that our modern world forgot in its rush toward materialism and external validation. They knew that the universe operates on precise principles, not random chance. They understood that human consciousness isn't separate from the creative force of the cosmos, but is actually an individualized expression of it. Most importantly, they recognized that thought alone changes nothing. Emotion alone creates chaos, but thought and emotion unified in elevated consciousness literally reorganizes the quantum field of infinite possibilities. The Emerald Tablet, one of the most influential texts in Western esoteric tradition, stated it clearly. As above, so below, as within, so without. This wasn't poetic philosophy. It was a precise description of how consciousness creates reality through correspondence and resonance. Your internal state doesn't just affect your external circumstances. It actually generates them through electromagnetic signature that communicates directly with the field of all possibilities. But here's what got lost over centuries of translation, interpretation, and deliberate obfuscation. This process requires a very specific combination of mental clarity, emotional elevation, and surrendered trust that most modern teachers barely mention. Think about what happened to this knowledge as time progressed. The unified teachings of the ancient mystery schools were gradually absorbed into religious institutions that had different agendas, institutions that needed followers, not empowered creators. institutions that benefited from teaching separation from source rather than unity with it. The message shifted from, "You are a powerful creator," to, "You are a lowly sinner needing external salvation." The formula that reactivated human potential was systematically dismantled and replaced with dependence on intermediaries, rituals without understanding, and belief systems that stripped away personal power. By the time we reached the modern era, even the revival of these teachings through New Thought movement, and later the popularization of the law of attraction, had been watered down to dangerously incomplete versions. You were told to think positive without understanding the neuroscience of how positive thinking actually rewires your brain. You were encouraged to visualize without learning how to generate the elevated emotional state that provides the magnetic charge to pull your vision into reality. Most critically, you were taught to want and desire and demand from the universe, reinforcing the very state of lack that keeps manifestation at arm's length forever. I watched this happen to people around me for years before I understood what was missing. Intelligent, dedicated individuals would follow every instruction from popular manifestation teachers. They'd create vision boards that covered their walls. They'd repeat affirmations until their voices were hoarse. They'd visualize their desired reality with impressive detail. And yet months would pass, years would pass, and their actual lived experience remained frustratingly unchanged. The confusion in their eyes would deepen. The self-blame would intensify. They'd conclude that either they were doing something wrong, or worse, that they simply weren't worthy of the life they desired. But here's the truth that changes everything. They weren't doing anything wrong within the limited framework they'd been given. They were simply working with an incomplete formula, like trying to bake bread with flour and water but no yeast. You'll get something, but it won't rise. It won't transform. It won't become what it has the potential to become. The complete formula, the one that actually works consistently and powerfully, has three inseparable components that must work together simultaneously. The ancient masters knew this. The Hermetic texts encoded it. The biblical parables pointed to it for those with eyes to see. And now quantum physics has validated it with mathematical precision. But somehow, in our modern soundbite culture of quick fixes and instant gratification, we've been sold only one or two pieces while being told we have the whole picture. Consider the biblical story of the mustard seed, which Jesus used to describe faith. For centuries, this parable has been interpreted as, "You just need to believe harder," or, "Even small faith can move mountains." But look deeper at what's actually being communicated. A mustard seed doesn't become a tree through belief alone. It becomes a tree because it contains the complete genetic blueprint for transformation. It's planted in fertile soil that provides nutrients, and it receives the water and sunlight necessary for growth. The seed must have the internal potential, the proper environment, and the essential elements all working together. Remove any one of these components and you get nothing. This is the hidden message. Manifestation requires the complete formula, not fragments of it. The Hermetic principle of correspondence tells us that patterns repeat at every scale of reality. What's true for a seed is true for your dreams, your goals, your desired reality. You need the internal blueprint of clear intention, the fertile environment of elevated emotion, and the essential element of surrendered trust that allows the organizing intelligence of the quantum field to arrange circumstances in ways your limited perspective cannot imagine. This three-part formula is what got fragmented, and this fragmentation is precisely why manifestation has become so frustratingly inconsistent for so many people. Here's what actually happened over these 2,000 years. The knowledge didn't disappear entirely. It just got separated into different camps that stopped talking to each other. The mystics kept the emotional elevation practices, but often dismissed the importance of clear mental direction. The intellectuals maintained the power of focused thought, but rejected emotion as unreliable and chaotic. The religious institutions held on to surrender and faith, but made it about external deities rather than internal creative power. Each group had a piece of the truth, but none had the complete picture, and anyone who tried to unify these fragments was often silenced, ridiculed, or worse. You can see evidence of the complete formula scattered throughout ancient wisdom, if you know what to look for. The Egyptian mysteries spoke of alignment between the Ka, your energy body, the Ba, your soul essence, and the Khat, your physical form. The Kabbalistic tradition describes the unity of thought, emotion, and action in the process of bringing potential into manifestation. Eastern traditions emphasize the integration of mind, heart, and surrender in their meditation practices. The pattern is consistent across cultures. Transformation requires all three elements working as one unified force. But there's an even deeper reason why this knowledge was fragmented, and it's important you understand this clearly. When you truly grasp the complete formula and begin applying it consistently, you become dangerously independent. You stop needing external validation. You stop consuming products that promise to fill the void. You stop giving your power away to authorities who claim to have answers you supposedly lack. You become, in the truest sense, a sovereign creator of your reality. And throughout history, systems of control, whether religious, political, or economic, have never been comfortable with populations of empowered, independent thinkers who recognize their inherent creative capacity. This isn't about vilifying institutions or dwelling in victim consciousness about who kept what from you. That energy keeps you locked in the past and powerless in the present. Instead, this is about recognizing why you felt that nagging sense that something was missing from everything you've learned about manifestation. You weren't imagining it. Something was missing, and now you're about to receive it in its entirety. The reason this matters so profoundly right now, in this moment of your life, is because you've reached a threshold. You wouldn't be here, absorbing these words, if you weren't ready for the complete picture. Some part of you, the deepest part that knows truth when it encounters it, has been searching for this. Your soul has been calling for the unified knowledge that will finally allow you to step into your full creative power. And the universe, in its perfect orchestration, has brought you here precisely when you're ready to receive it. What you're about to discover in the coming chapters isn't just information, it's transformation. You're not going to simply learn about the complete formula. You're going to experience it integrating into your consciousness, rewiring your neural pathways, and shifting your electromagnetic signature to match the reality you've been trying to create. This audiobook is designed to work on multiple levels simultaneously. The conscious mind will grasp the concepts and understand the science. The subconscious mind, especially as you listen in that relaxed state before sleep, will absorb the truth beyond words and begin reorganizing your belief systems at the deepest levels. And your entire being will start resonating at the frequency of someone who finally has the complete map. The fragmentation ends here. The confusion ends here. The frustration of trying techniques that only work sometimes or don't work at all ends here. You're about to receive what the masters knew, what the quantum physicists have validated, and what your soul has always remembered, but your conditioned mind forgot. You're about to discover why this knowledge is so powerful that it had to be hidden, not because anyone was necessarily trying to harm you, but because widespread understanding of it would fundamentally transform how human society operates. Are you ready to see what's been hiding in plain sight? Are you prepared to recognize that every spiritual text, every ancient teaching, and every modern scientific discovery has been pointing to the same unified truth about your creative nature? Are you willing to release the incomplete fragments you've been clinging to and embrace the wholeness of the formula that actually works? Because once you see it complete, you cannot unsee it. Once you understand how the three components work together to literally reorganize physical reality, you cannot go back to partial techniques and fragmented practices. Your entire relationship with the concept of manifestation is about to transform from something you try to do into something you simply are, from a hopeful practice into a lived reality, from a distant possibility into your natural state of being. The masters who came before you, from Hermes Trismegistus to the quantum mystics of our modern age, left breadcrumbs for you to follow. They encoded the truth in texts that would survive millennia. They pointed toward the unified principle that makes manifestation not just possible, but inevitable when you align all three components correctly. And now, you're about to walk through the door they've been holding open, into the knowledge that was always yours but got temporarily obscured by 2,000 years of fragmentation. Take a deep breath and let that settle into your awareness. The search is over. The complete formula is here, and you, right now, in this perfect moment, are ready to receive it. Everything you've experienced until now, every failed attempt at manifestation, every disappointment and confusion, has been preparing you for this understanding. You haven't been doing it wrong. You've been working with incomplete information, and that changes right now. Welcome to the truth that was fragmented. Welcome to the knowledge that's been waiting for you. Welcome to the beginning of your transformation, from someone who tries to manifest into someone who simply creates reality as naturally as breathing. The formula is no longer hidden. The power is no longer distant. The transformation is no longer someday. It's here, it's now, and it's yours. Chapter 2. The Quantum Anatomy of Manifestation. How thought and emotion create reality in the unified field. Your body is a sophisticated electromagnetic broadcasting system, transmitting signals into the quantum field every single moment of every single day. This isn't metaphor. This isn't spiritual poetry. This is measurable, documentable, scientific fact that changes everything you thought you knew about how reality works. And the most fascinating part, you've been broadcasting your entire life without realizing that you're the one controlling the signal, creating the frequency, and determining what responds to your transmission. Let me start with something that will shift your entire perspective on what you are. Right now, as you listen to these words, your heart is generating an electromagnetic field that extends anywhere from 3 to 15 feet beyond your physical body. The Heart Math Institute has measured this with precision instruments that detect the magnetic component of this field at distances that would astound you. Your brain, simultaneously, is producing electrical patterns that create their own field of influence. These aren't separate, isolated phenomena happening inside your skin. These are broadcasts emanating from you into the space around you, interacting with the quantum field of infinite possibilities that physicists now confirm surrounds and permeates everything. Here's where it gets truly extraordinary. Your thoughts generate electrical charges. Every time you think, neurons fire in specific patterns, creating measurable electrical activity that shows up on an EEG. This electrical component is the yang, the masculine, the directive aspect of manifestation. But thought alone, as millions of frustrated manifestors have discovered, doesn't create anything tangible. You can think about abundance until your brain is exhausted, visualize success until the images are burned into your mind, and still wake up tomorrow in exactly the same circumstances you're living today. Why? Because you're broadcasting only half the signal. Your emotions, particularly the elevated emotions of gratitude, joy, love, and inspiration, generate magnetic charges. The heart produces a magnetic field that's approximately 5,000 times stronger than the magnetic field produced by the brain. 5,000 times. Let that sink in for a moment. When you feel elevated emotion, when you're in a state of genuine gratitude or authentic joy, your heart is creating a powerful magnetic field that doesn't just exist inside you, but radiates outward, drawing experiences, circumstances, and possibilities toward you like iron filings to a magnet. This is the anatomy of manifestation that the ancient masters understood intuitively, and that quantum physics has now validated empirically. Thought provides the electrical charge that clarifies what you're focusing on. Emotion provides the magnetic charge that draws your focused intention toward you. Together, they create a complete electromagnetic signature, a unique frequency that communicates with the quantum field and literally calls forth from infinite possibilities the specific reality that matches your broadcast. Think of it like a radio system. Your thoughts are like tuning the radio to a specific station, selecting the frequency you want to receive. But if there's no power running through the system, if there's no charge animating it, you can turn that dial all day long and hear nothing but silence. Emotion is the power, the charge, the animating force that brings the signal to life. When thought and emotion combine, when you're both clear about what you're focusing on and feeling the elevated state of already having it, you create a broadcast so powerful that the universe has no choice but to respond. The quantum field that physicists describe is not empty space waiting passively for things to happen to it. It's a field of infinite potential, containing every possible version of every possible reality, all existing simultaneously as probability waves. Your consciousness doesn't discover one of these realities. It literally collapses the wave function and selects which probability becomes your actual lived experience. This is what the famous double-slit experiment demonstrated beyond any doubt. The observer affects the observed. Your attention, combined with your emotional state, doesn't just witness reality, it participates in creating it. Now here's the crucial part that most manifestation teachings completely miss. The quantum field responds to who you're being, not what you're wanting. Let me say that again because it's the key that unlocks everything. The field responds to your state of being, not your state of wanting. When you want something, you're broadcasting the frequency of lack, of not having, of separation from the thing you desire. You're literally telling the quantum field, I don't have this. And the field, in its perfect responsiveness, keeps giving you more experiences of not having it. This is why people can want and want and want and never receive. They're stuck in the electromagnetic signature of wanting, which is fundamentally the signature of absence. But when you elevate your emotional state to match the feeling of already being the person who has what you desire, everything changes. When you feel grateful for the abundance that's coming as if it's already here, when you experience the joy of your desired reality as a present moment emotion, rather than a future hope. You shift your electromagnetic signature completely. You're no longer broadcasting lack. You're broadcasting fulfillment. You're no longer transmitting separation. You're transmitting unity. And the quantum field, which operates on the principle of resonance and correspondence, begins organizing circumstances to match the frequency you're now embodying. This is precisely what the neuroscience of transformation confirms. Dr. Joe Dispenza's research using brain scans and heart rate variability measurements has documented exactly what happens when people combine clear intention with elevated emotion. The brain moves from high beta wave patterns of stress and survival into alpha and theta patterns of coherence and creativity. The heart rhythm becomes coherent instead of chaotic, and most remarkably, the electromagnetic field produced by the heart becomes measurably stronger and more organized. You literally become a more powerful broadcaster, transmitting a clearer signal into the quantum field. Your brain doesn't know the difference between something you're vividly imagining with strong emotion and something you're actually experiencing in physical reality. This isn't a bug in your neural programming. It's a feature. It's the doorway to transformation. When you mentally rehearse your desired future while generating the elevated emotions of that future, your brain begins building new neural networks as if that future is happening now. It starts pruning away the old circuits of your past self and constructing the new circuits of your future self. This is neuroplasticity in action, and it's one of the most empowering discoveries modern science has given us. But here's where most people sabotage themselves without realizing it. They do a visualization practice in the morning, generating beautiful elevated emotions for 10 or 15 minutes, and then they spend the other 23 hours and 45 minutes of their day in stress, worry, frustration, and all the familiar negative emotions of their past. What are they doing electromagnetically? They're spending less than 1% of their day broadcasting the signal of their desired reality, and 99% of their day broadcasting the signal of their current limitations. And then they wonder why nothing changes. The quantum field doesn't respond to your occasional intentions. It responds to your consistent electromagnetic state. It doesn't care about your 15-minute morning meditation if you spend the rest of your day emotionally rehearsing your problems, mentally reviewing your limitations, and feeling the same old feelings that created your current life. The field is always listening to your broadcast, and it's giving you more of whatever signal you're sending, most consistently and most powerfully. This is why emotion is not optional in manifestation. It's not just a nice addition to make the process more pleasant. It's the actual mechanism that turns possibility into reality. Your thoughts select which channel you want to tune into from the infinite channels available in the quantum field. Your emotions provide the power that makes that channel audible, visible, tangible in your experience. Together they create what physicists call the observer effect, what mystics have called co-creation, and what you're about to understand as your natural birthright as a conscious being. Consider what happens at the cellular level when you shift your emotional state. Dr. Bruce Lipton's research in epigenetics has shown that your cells respond to the electromagnetic signals from your thoughts and emotions, literally changing which genes get activated and which get suppressed. When you're in stress and survival mode, your cells close down, going into protection mode. Blood flow moves away from your vital organs and toward your extremities for fight or flight. Your immune system weakens. Your digestive system shuts down. Your brain activity shifts entirely to the primitive regions focused on survival. You become, quite literally, a different person at the cellular level. But when you shift into elevated emotional states, gratitude, joy, love, inspiration, everything reverses. Your cells open up. Blood flow increases to your vital organs and brain. Your immune system strengthens. Your digestive system optimizes. Most importantly, your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for creating new thoughts, imagining new possibilities, and making new choices, comes fully online. You gain access to the creative capacities that were completely unavailable when you were stuck in survival mode. This isn't just feeling better emotionally. It's becoming physiologically different in ways that make manifestation not just possible, but natural. The electromagnetic heart-brain coherence that occurs when you combine clear thought with elevated emotion creates a measurable shift in your entire physiology. Your heart and brain begin communicating in harmony instead of chaos. This coherent state is when you become your most powerful as a manifester, because your entire system is unified, broadcasting a single clear signal instead of the contradictory noise most people emit throughout their day. When you're coherent, when all aspects of your being are aligned and broadcasting the same message, the quantum field has clarity about what you're calling forth. Think about the implications of this for just a moment. You're not a powerless victim of circumstances that happen to you randomly. You're a sophisticated electromagnetic transmitter, constantly broadcasting signals that the quantum field constantly responds to. Every thought you think contributes to your electrical signal. Every emotion you feel contributes to your magnetic signal. Together they create your unique frequency, your specific vibration, and that vibration is what determines which possibilities collapse from the quantum field into your lived reality. The ancient Hermetic principle, as within, so without, wasn't mystical philosophy. It was precise instruction about the electromagnetic nature of manifestation. What's within you, your thoughts and emotions, your mental and emotional state, creates what manifests without you, your external circumstances and experiences. The correspondence is exact, because it's governed by the physics of electromagnetic transmission and reception. Change your internal state, change your broadcast, change what you attract from the field of infinite possibilities. Now let's talk about why most people's broadcasts are creating more of what they don't want rather than what they do want. Your subconscious mind, which controls approximately 95% of your thoughts and behaviors, is running programs installed during your first 7 years of life. These programs were downloaded primarily from your environment, your parents, your culture, your early experiences, and they're still running on autopilot in the background of your consciousness. Most of these programs are about limitation, lack, unworthiness, and survival. They're broadcasting constantly, below your conscious awareness, sending signals into the quantum field that keep recreating the same patterns over and over again. This is why conscious affirmations and visualizations often fail. Your conscious mind might be saying, "I am abundant, I am worthy, I am successful," for 15 minutes a day. But your subconscious mind is running programs that say, "Money is hard to come by, I'm not good enough." Success requires struggle and sacrifice for the other 23 hours and 45 minutes. Which broadcast is stronger? Which signal is the quantum field primarily responding to? The subconscious wins every time because it's operating constantly, automatically, and with the emotional charge of your earliest conditioning. But here's the remarkable opportunity that neuroscience has revealed. You can reprogram your subconscious. You can change those automatic broadcasts. The most effective time to do this is in theta brainwave state, which occurs naturally as you're falling asleep or just waking up. In theta state, your conscious analytical mind quiets down, and your subconscious becomes accessible to new programming. This is precisely why this audiobook is designed for pre-sleep listening. As you absorb these concepts while moving into theta state, they're installing directly into your subconscious, beginning to overwrite the old limited programs with new empowered ones. The quantum field is infinite potential, but it's not going to override your free will and force abundance or success or joy upon you. It responds to what you're broadcasting. It organizes circumstances to match your electromagnetic signature. If you're broadcasting stress and worry, it brings more circumstances to stress about. If you're broadcasting gratitude and joy, it brings more circumstances to feel grateful and joyful about. The field is a perfect mirror, reflecting back the frequency you're putting out. This is simultaneously the most empowering and most confronting truth you'll encounter. Empowering, because it means you have complete creative control when you learn to manage your thoughts and emotions. Confronting, because it means you can no longer blame external circumstances for your internal state. The causation flows from within to without, not the other way around. Your external reality is the effect, not the cause. Your internal electromagnetic state is the cause, and you have the power to change it at any moment. When you truly grasp this quantum anatomy of manifestation, when you understand yourself as an electromagnetic broadcaster in constant communication with a responsive field of infinite possibilities, everything about how you approach life transforms. You stop being reactive to circumstances and become creative of them. You stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and start recognizing, "I am creating this through my consistent broadcast." You stop feeling powerless and start experiencing your inherent power as a conscious creator. The formula the ancients knew, and that quantum physics has now validated, is elegantly simple and profoundly powerful. Clear thought provides the electrical charge of directed intention. Elevated emotion provides the magnetic charge of attraction. Together, they create the electromagnetic signature that communicates your chosen reality to the quantum field. Maintain that signature consistently, and the field has no choice but to reorganize circumstances to match it. This is not magic. This is physics. This is how consciousness creates reality through measurable, documentable, electromagnetic interaction with the quantum field. You are not waiting for permission to create the life you desire. You are not hoping the universe might grant your wishes if you're good enough or worthy enough. You are a broadcasting station, transmitting signals that are being received and responded to every moment. The only question is, what signal are you sending? Are you broadcasting the electromagnetic signature of your desired reality? Or are you broadcasting the signature of your current limitations? Because whatever you're broadcasting most consistently and powerfully is exactly what you're going to continue experiencing. This is your invitation to become conscious of your broadcast, to take responsibility for the thoughts you're thinking and the emotions you're feeling, not out of guilt or self-blame, but out of recognition of your creative power. Every moment is an opportunity to tune your thoughts to clarity and elevate your emotions to match your desired reality. Every moment is a chance to shift your electromagnetic signature from lack to abundance, from separation to unity, from victim to creator. The quantum field is listening. It's always listening. It has infinite possibilities available, waiting for you to select through the clarity of your thought and the power of your emotion which reality you want to experience. You're not asking it for favors. You're not begging it for mercy. You're communicating with it electromagnetically, and it's responding with mathematical precision to the signal you're sending. Welcome to your power. Welcome to the quantum anatomy of manifestation. Welcome to the understanding that you are not separate from the creative force of the universe, but are a unique expression of it, equipped with the magnificent ability to broadcast your desires into the field and watch them materialize in your experience. The ancients knew this. Quantum physics confirms it. And now you know it too. Chapter 3. The Complete Formula Revealed. The 3 Pillars that the ancients mastered. This is the moment where everything comes together. Everything you've learned about the fragmentation of knowledge, everything you now understand about the quantum anatomy of manifestation, has been building to this revelation. The complete formula that the masters used, that was encoded in sacred texts, that worked consistently and powerfully for those who knew it in its entirety, is about to become yours. And once you see how these 3 components work together as an inseparable trinity, you'll understand why partial application produced partial results, and why complete application produces complete transformation. The formula has 3 pillars, 3 essential components that must work simultaneously for manifestation to occur. Not sequentially, not one after the other, simultaneously. Like the 3 legs of a stool, remove any one of them and the entire structure collapses. Add all 3 in perfect balance, and you create something so stable, so powerful, that nothing can prevent your desired reality from materializing. These 3 pillars are conscious direction, elevated emotion, and intelligent surrender. And the magic, the true alchemy of manifestation, happens only when all 3 are present and working together as one unified force. Let's start with the first pillar, conscious direction. This is your clarity of intention, your focal attention on what you're choosing to create. But it's far more sophisticated than simply deciding what you want. Conscious direction means you know precisely what you're calling forth and why. You've moved beyond vague wishes and hopeful fantasies into crystal clear vision of your desired reality. You can describe it in detail. You can feel into the specifics of it. You know what it looks like, how it feels, what changes it brings to your life. This clarity is essential because the quantum field responds to specificity. Vague broadcasts get vague results. Clear broadcasts get clear results. Think of conscious direction as programming a GPS system. If you type in a general area, somewhere in California, the GPS can't create an efficient route. But if you enter a specific address, the system immediately calculates the exact path to get you there. The quantum field operates the same way. When you give it a clear destination through focused intention, it can organize the circumstances, synchronicities, and opportunities to deliver that specific outcome. But if your direction is scattered, contradictory, or unclear, the field doesn't know what you're asking for, and you end up with scattered, contradictory results that leave you frustrated and confused. Most people fail at this first pillar without realizing it. They think they have clarity because they can say, "I want more money," or "I want a better relationship," or "I want to be successful." But these statements are so broad, so undefined, that they provide almost no actual direction to the quantum field. More money compared to what? How much more? For what purpose? What will having it change about your daily experience? A better relationship than what? What specific qualities make it better? Success according to whose definition? What does success look like in tangible experiential terms? The masters who wielded this formula effectively spent time developing absolute clarity about their desired reality. They didn't just know what they wanted to have. They knew who they needed to become to be the person who naturally has those things. They understood that manifestation isn't about acquiring external objects or circumstances. It's about evolving into the version of yourself that already lives in the reality you desire. This is a crucial distinction that changes everything. You're not trying to get something you lack. You're becoming someone who naturally attracts and maintains what you desire because it matches who you are. Now let's move to the second pillar, elevated emotion. You already understand from the previous chapter that emotion provides the magnetic charge that draws your intention into physical reality. But elevated emotion is very specific. It's not just any emotion. It's the emotional state of already being the person who has what you desire. It's feeling gratitude for abundance before the money appears in your bank account. It's experiencing the joy of perfect health before your body shows evidence of healing. It's embodying the confidence of success before the achievement manifests. This is the hardest part for most people to grasp, because it seems illogical to feel grateful for something you don't yet have, or joyful about a reality you're not yet experiencing. But here's what makes elevated emotion so powerful. It shifts your electromagnetic signature from the frequency of wanting to the frequency of having. Remember, the quantum field doesn't respond to what you want. It responds to who you're being. When you generate elevated emotions connected to your desired reality, you're not pretending or faking or lying to yourself. You're actually becoming, at an electromagnetic level, the person who already lives in that reality. Your heart begins broadcasting the magnetic field of that future self. Your brain starts building the neural networks of that future self. Your entire physiology shifts to match that elevated state. The ancient mystery schools understood this deeply. They had specific practices designed to generate and sustain elevated emotional states independent of external circumstances. They knew that if your emotions are dependent on what's already happened, you're forever trapped in recreating your past. Your past circumstances trigger familiar emotions. Those familiar emotions broadcast familiar frequencies, and those familiar frequencies attract more familiar circumstances. It's a closed loop that keeps you stuck in the same patterns indefinitely. But when you learn to generate elevated emotions from internal choice rather than external triggers, you break free from the past and begin broadcasting the frequency of your desired future. This is where most manifestation teachings leave people stranded. They're told to visualize and feel good, but they're not given the specific understanding that the emotions must be elevated beyond survival mode, and that these emotions must be sustained long enough to actually shift your baseline electromagnetic state. You can't feel grateful for 5 minutes in the morning and then spend the entire day in stress, frustration, and worry, expecting the 5 minutes to override the hours of lower frequency emotions. The quantum field responds to your dominant broadcast, not your occasional broadcast. Here's a story that illustrates this perfectly. There was a woman who wanted to manifest financial abundance. She did all the visualizations correctly. She imagined money flowing into her life. She even felt excited during her morning practice. But the moment she finished her practice and went about her day, she checked her bank account anxiously, worried about bills, felt resentful about having to go to a job she didn't enjoy, and constantly rehearsed mental scenarios of not having enough. What was her dominant broadcast? Lack, fear, and anxiety. Those emotions were active for 23 hours, while gratitude and abundance were active for maybe 1 hour total. The quantum field gave her more lack, more fear, more situations to be anxious about, because that's what she was broadcasting most powerfully and consistently. But then something shifted. She learned about elevated emotion as a practice independent of circumstances. She started generating gratitude, not because something good happened, but as a chosen state of being. She practiced feeling abundant while looking at an empty bank account, not by denying reality, but by accessing the emotional state of her future self who already had abundance. She sustained these elevated emotions longer each day, training herself to remain in higher frequencies, even when external circumstances hadn't changed yet. And within months, her entire financial reality transformed. Opportunities appeared. Income streams opened up. Money flowed in from unexpected sources. Why? Because she finally shifted her dominant electromagnetic broadcast from lack to abundance, and the quantum field had no choice but to reorganize circumstances to match her new frequency. Now we come to the third pillar, the one that's most often completely missing from modern manifestation teachings: intelligent surrender. This is not giving up. This is not passive waiting. This is not abdication of responsibility. Intelligent surrender is the profound trust that once you've provided clear direction through focused intention and elevated that intention with powerful emotion, the quantum field has infinite intelligence to organize the details in ways your limited perspective cannot imagine or plan. This is where the Western mind often struggles, because we've been conditioned to believe that more control equals better results. We want to know the how, the when, the specific steps that will lead from here to there. We want to micromanage the manifestation process, forcing specific pathways and particular timelines. But this attachment to how it must happen actually restricts the quantum field's ability to deliver your desire through the path of least resistance and greatest synchronicity. When you demand, it happens your way. Through your limited knowledge of available paths, you cut off the infinite other possibilities that might be easier, faster, and more miraculous than anything you could have planned. The ancient masters described this as becoming the hollow bamboo, the empty vessel through which divine intelligence could flow. They understood that their conscious mind, brilliant as it might be, had access to only a tiny fraction of available information. But the quantum field, the organizing intelligence of the universe, has access to all information simultaneously. It knows connections you don't see. It perceives opportunities you haven't considered. It can arrange circumstances involving other people, timing and resources in ways that would take you lifetimes to coordinate consciously. Intelligent surrender means you get absolutely clear about what you desire. You elevate your emotional state to match already having it, and then you release attachment to the specific way it must manifest. You trust that the universe is already moving everything into alignment. You remain alert for inspired action, those sudden impulses to call someone, go somewhere, or do something that feels right, even if you don't know why. But you stop forcing, pushing, controlling, and trying to make it happen through sheer willpower. You become a cooperative participant in the creative process, rather than a stressed manager trying to control every detail. Here's the paradox that unlocks everything. The more you try to control how your desire manifests, the more you're actually broadcasting the frequency of doubt and fear that it won't happen on its own. That doubt and fear contaminate your electromagnetic signature, creating mixed signals that confuse the quantum field. But when you surrender intelligently, when you trust deeply that the universe is organizing everything perfectly, you're broadcasting absolute confidence and certainty. That clean, clear signal allows the quantum field to work its magic without interference from your anxiety and doubt. Think of it like planting a seed. You provide conscious direction by choosing which seed to plant and where to plant it. You provide elevated emotion by nurturing it with water and ensuring it has sunlight. But then comes intelligent surrender. You don't dig up the seed every day to check if it's growing. You don't try to force the plant to grow faster by pulling on the shoots. You trust the intelligence within the seed and within nature to handle the growth process according to its own perfect timing. Your job is to maintain the right conditions, to keep watering and providing light, while trusting the invisible process happening beneath the surface. Now here's where the three pillars become a unified formula. They must operate simultaneously and in balance. You can't do conscious direction on Monday, elevated emotion on Wednesday, and intelligent surrender on Friday, expecting results. They work together as one integrated practice, one way of being. At every moment, you're holding clear focus on your desired reality, while feeling the elevated emotions of already being that future self, while trusting completely that the universe is organizing the perfect path to get you there. When all three are present, something remarkable happens. Your electromagnetic broadcast becomes extraordinarily powerful and coherent. Your heart and brain synchronize in ways that research has shown produce measurable changes in the quantum field around you. People sense something different about you, even if they can't articulate what it is. Circumstances begin shifting in ways that seem coincidental, but happen too frequently to be random. Opportunities appear. The right people show up. Resources become available. Everything starts flowing toward your desired reality with a momentum that feels almost effortless. This is what the masters experienced consistently. This is why their manifestations seemed miraculous to those who didn't understand the complete formula. They weren't special or chosen or more deserving. They simply knew and applied all three pillars simultaneously. They maintained conscious direction without wavering. They sustained elevated emotion regardless of current circumstances. They practiced intelligent surrender that allowed the universe to deliver through unexpected and often spectacular pathways. Let me share another story that demonstrates the complete formula in action. There was a man who desired to create a healing center. He had conscious direction. He knew exactly what the center would offer, who it would serve, what it would look like, how it would feel to work there every day. He cultivated elevated emotion by spending time each morning feeling the gratitude and joy of already serving people in his center, feeling the fulfillment of his purpose being expressed fully. And he practiced intelligent surrender by releasing his attachment to finding the perfect property at the perfect price, in the perfect location, through his own searching and negotiating. What happened? Within 6 months, he met someone at a completely unrelated event who mentioned they had a property they wanted to use for healing work but didn't know how. The property was exactly what he had envisioned, in a location better than anything he'd considered, and the owner offered it to him at terms that made it immediately viable. This wasn't luck. This wasn't coincidence. This was the quantum field responding to a clean, clear, powerful electromagnetic broadcast that included all three pillars of the complete formula. His conscious direction gave the field a specific target. His elevated emotion provided the magnetic charge to draw it toward him. His intelligent surrender allowed the field to deliver it through a pathway he never would have planned or predicted. This is available to you right now. Not someday when you're more spiritual or more evolved or more worthy. Right now. You already have the equipment, the electromagnetic broadcasting system of your heart and brain. You already have access to the quantum field that's listening and responding to your every broadcast. You already possess the consciousness capable of holding clear intention, generating elevated emotion, and surrendering intelligently to universal intelligence. The only question is, will you apply the complete formula, or will you continue working with fragments that produce fragmentary results? Understanding the formulas intellectually is not enough. You must embody it. You must live it. You must practice it until it becomes your natural state of being, rather than something you do occasionally. This is the difference between someone who manifests occasionally, almost accidentally, and someone who creates reality deliberately and consistently. The masters didn't have a technique they used now and then. They had a way of being they maintained constantly. Their entire orientation to life was based on these three pillars working together as one unified approach to existence. Here's what I want you to understand with absolute clarity. You are not broken. You are not lacking some special gift that others have. You are not too late or too old or too damaged or too anything to apply this formula. You are a sophisticated electromagnetic broadcaster with direct access to the quantum field of infinite possibilities. When you provide conscious direction, generate elevated emotion, and practice intelligent surrender all at the same time, manifestation is not a hope or a wish. It's a natural consequence of physics and consciousness working together exactly as they're designed to work. The formula is complete. The knowledge is no longer fragmented. You now know what the masters knew, what the ancient texts encoded, what quantum physics validates, and what your own experience is about to confirm. Three pillars, working simultaneously, creating an electromagnetic broadcast so powerful and coherent that the quantum field has no choice but to reorganize physical reality to match your signal. This is not magic. This is not supernatural. This is simply the natural operation of consciousness, creating reality when you finally have the complete instruction manual instead of random torn pages. Your only task now is to live this formula, to make these three pillars your constant practice, to hold clear intention even when circumstances don't yet reflect it, to generate elevated emotion even when external reality gives you nothing to feel elevated about, to surrender intelligently even when your mind wants to control and force and make it happen through struggle. This is the path. This is the way. This is the formula that was hidden in plain sight for 2,000 years, waiting for you to finally recognize it in its completeness and apply it with the power and consistency it deserves. The quantum field is ready. The universe is listening. The only remaining question is, are you ready to finally use the complete formula? Chapter 4, Reprogramming the System. Operating reality, undoing 2,000 years of limiting conditioning. You now know the complete formula. You understand how thought and emotion create your electromagnetic signature. You recognize the three pillars that must work together for manifestation to occur. But there's something standing between you and the consistent application of this knowledge, something that's been running in the background of your consciousness since before you could even speak. It's the operating system of limiting beliefs, installed during your earliest years and reinforced by 2,000 years of cultural conditioning that taught separation instead of unity, scarcity instead of abundance, and powerlessness instead of creative mastery. This operating system is your subconscious programming, and it's controlling approximately 95% of your thoughts, emotions, and behaviors every single day. Think about that for a moment. Only 5% of your consciousness is operating from your aware, intentional, present moment self. The other 95% is running automated programs that were downloaded primarily between birth and age 7, when your brain was in theta state, the same state of high suggestibility you enter just before sleep. During those formative years, you absorbed everything from your environment like a sponge, without filters, without the ability to question or analyze, without any conscious choice about what to accept or reject. You downloaded programs from your parents about money, relationships, success, and worthiness. You absorbed beliefs from your culture about what's possible and what's not, who deserves abundance and who doesn't, what requires struggle and what comes easily. You took in messages from religion about your nature, your power, and your relationship to the creative force of the universe. And most of these programs, installed with the best intentions by people who loved you, are fundamentally disempowering. They teach limitation when you are limitless. They emphasize lack when you exist in a universe of infinite abundance. They promote fear and survival when you're designed for expansion and creation. Here's the confronting truth you need to face directly. No matter how perfectly you apply the three-pillar formula, if your subconscious programming contradicts your conscious desires, the subconscious will win every time. It's not a fair fight. Your conscious mind, brilliant and intentional as it may be, is generating only 5% of your electromagnetic broadcast. Your subconscious, running its automated programs below your awareness, is generating 95%. So even if you consciously intend abundance, if your subconscious is programmed with "money is hard to get" and "I'm not worthy of wealth," your dominant broadcast is lack and unworthiness. The quantum field responds to your dominant signal, not your hopeful intentions. This is why people can do everything right on the surface, follow every instruction from manifestation teachers, apply techniques with dedication and sincerity, and still see no results. They're working with 5% of their consciousness, while 95% is broadcasting the exact opposite message. It's like trying to drive forward with the emergency brake engaged. You might move a little, but you're burning out the engine and getting nowhere near the speed and ease that's possible when all your power is aligned in the same direction. Let's identify the specific limiting beliefs that have been transmitted through generations, the ones so embedded in collective consciousness that most people don't even recognize them as beliefs. They just accept them as truth, as the way reality works, never questioning whether they're accurate or whether they serve expansion or limitation. The first category is beliefs about worth and deservingness. Somewhere in your programming, you likely have variations of "I'm not good enough," "I don't deserve to have what I want," "I need to earn my worthiness through suffering or sacrifice," or "other people are more deserving than I am." These beliefs didn't originate with you. They were inherited from religious teachings that emphasized unworthiness and sin, from cultural messages about hierarchy and comparison, from well-meaning parents who used shame to control behavior. The second category is beliefs about the nature of reality and your relationship to it. You probably absorbed ideas like, life is hard, you have to work hard for everything you get, money doesn't grow on trees, good things come to those who wait, or you can't have everything you want. These beliefs create an electromagnetic signature of struggle, limitation, and separation from abundance. They make manifestation feel difficult because you're broadcasting that creation requires hardship. And the quantum field, in its perfect responsiveness, gives you circumstances that match that broadcast, circumstances that do indeed require struggle and hard work, because that's what you're telling the field is true for you. The third category, perhaps the most insidious, is beliefs about your power and agency. Messages like, God is in control, not you. You're just one small person in a big world. Who do you think you are to want that? Or, You should be grateful for what you have and not ask for more. These beliefs strip away your recognition of yourself as a creative being with direct access to the quantum field. They make you a passive recipient, waiting for external forces to determine your fate, rather than an active participant consciously creating your reality. And as long as these beliefs are running in your subconscious, you cannot fully embody the three-pillar formula because you don't fundamentally believe you have the power to create. Now here's what makes this situation both challenging and incredibly hopeful. Your brain is neuroplastic. This means it can change, rewire, create new neural networks, and dissolve old ones at any point in your life. You are not stuck with the programming you received decades ago. The neural pathways that fire together wire together, and the ones you stop using eventually prune away. Every thought you think, every emotion you feel, every action you take is either reinforcing old circuits or building new ones. This is perhaps the most empowering discovery neuroscience has offered humanity. The understanding that change is not only possible, it's the brain's natural function when given the right conditions. But you can't reprogram your subconscious through willpower or positive thinking alone. The conscious mind speaking to the subconscious mind is like speaking English to someone who only understands Chinese. The languages don't match. The subconscious doesn't respond to logic or reasoning or conscious commands. It responds to repetition, emotion, and messages received during specific brainwave states. This is why affirmations often fail. You're consciously repeating positive statements while your brain is in beta wave state, the frequency of analytical thinking and external focus. These conscious affirmations rarely penetrate the subconscious, which is still running its automated programs in a completely different frequency. The subconscious speaks the language of feeling, symbol, and repetition in altered states. This is why children absorb so much. During their first 7 years, their brains are predominantly in theta state, the same frequency accessed during deep meditation and just before sleep. In theta state, the analytical conscious mind quiets down, and the subconscious becomes directly accessible to new programming. This is also why trauma has such a powerful impact on belief formation. Traumatic experiences come with intense emotion, and that emotional charge burns the associated beliefs deep into the subconscious, where they continue influencing behavior for years or decades. So how do you actually reprogram these limiting beliefs? The most effective method combines several elements that all work together to access the subconscious and install new patterns. First, you must identify the specific limiting beliefs that are running your show. This requires honest self-examination. Look at the areas of your life where you're not getting the results you want, and ask yourself, what would I have to believe for this to be my reality? If you're constantly struggling with money, you might discover beliefs like, I don't deserve financial ease, or money is scarce and hard to get. If relationships keep failing in similar patterns, you might uncover beliefs like, I'm not lovable as I am, or people always leave. Once you've identified these beliefs, you need to do something that might feel uncomfortable. You need to see them clearly as beliefs, not as truths. Most people are so identified with their limiting beliefs that they defend them as reality. But it's true that money is hard to get. Look at my bank account. This is circular logic. Your bank account reflects your beliefs. Your beliefs create your electromagnetic broadcast. Your broadcast determines what you attract from the quantum field. Breaking this cycle requires recognizing that what you've been calling truth is actually just a very convincing belief that you've been proving right through your consistent focus and emotion. Now comes the reprogramming process. You need to create new beliefs that align with the reality you desire, and you need to install these new beliefs in ways that actually reach your subconscious. This is where the theta state becomes your most powerful tool. As you listen to this audiobook in that drowsy state before sleep, when your brain naturally shifts into theta frequency, you're creating the perfect conditions for subconscious reprogramming. The analytical conscious mind is releasing its grip. The subconscious is becoming accessible, and the new empowering beliefs can sink in without resistance. But it's not enough to just hear new beliefs. You must feel them. You must generate the elevated emotions associated with these new beliefs being true. When you combine a new empowering thought with elevated emotion in theta state, you create what neuroscientists call a long-term potentiation, a strengthening of neural connections that makes the new pattern more likely to fire automatically in the future. This is how you begin building new circuits of empowerment, abundance, worthiness, and creative mastery, while the old circuits of limitation gradually weaken through disuse. Let me give you specific new beliefs to begin installing right now, as you listen in this relaxed state. Feel into each one as I speak it. Allow the elevated emotion of it being true to arise in your body. I am inherently worthy, not because of what I do or achieve, but because I exist as an expression of creative consciousness. Let that settle in. Feel what it would be like if you really knew this to be true. Abundance is my natural state because I exist in an infinitely abundant universe that responds to my electromagnetic broadcast. Feel the relief, the expansiveness of this being true. I am a powerful creator with direct access to the quantum field, and my thoughts and emotions are constantly shaping my reality. Feel the empowerment, the responsibility, the excitement of this truth. Here's what's happening as you absorb these new beliefs with feeling. Your brain is building new neural networks. Neurons are firing in new patterns, creating new connections that didn't exist before. Your heart is generating a new electromagnetic signature that matches these empowered beliefs. Your entire physiology is shifting to support this new identity as a conscious creator, rather than a limited, powerless victim of circumstances. And most importantly, your subconscious is beginning to accept these new patterns as the new normal, the new operating system that will gradually replace the old limiting programs. This reprogramming isn't a one-time event. It's a consistent practice. The old programs were installed through repetition over years. They were reinforced thousands of times. The new programs need repetition too, but here's the advantage. You're doing it consciously, intentionally, with understanding of the process. You're not passively absorbing limiting beliefs like you did as a child. You're actively choosing empowering beliefs and installing them with the power of elevated emotion and altered states. This accelerates the process dramatically compared to the unconscious programming of childhood. You also need to become vigilant about the present moment thoughts and emotions that are either reinforcing old programs or building new ones. Every time you catch yourself thinking an old limiting thought, you have a choice. You can follow that thought down the familiar neural pathway, strengthening that circuit one more time, or you can interrupt it, consciously choose a new empowering thought, and build that new circuit instead. This is not positive thinking for the sake of feeling good. This is strategic neuroplastic rewiring for the purpose of changing your electromagnetic broadcast, and therefore changing what you attract from the quantum field. The emotional component is crucial here. When you catch yourself in fear, anxiety, or worry, recognize that you're broadcasting the frequency of lack and limitation. These are the emotional signatures of your old programming, the survival emotions that keep you stuck in recreating the past. But you have the power to shift. You can pause, breathe, and consciously generate an elevated emotion, gratitude, joy, love, or appreciation. This isn't denying reality or pretending everything is fine. This is exercising your inherent power to choose your emotional state independent of external circumstances, which is exactly what the masters learned to do. Here's a critical understanding. Your old programming will not give up without resistance. These neural pathways have been your default for years or decades. They've kept you safe in familiar territory, even if that territory is limiting and unfulfilling. When you start building new circuits of empowerment and abundance, the old programs will fight back. You'll experience doubt, fear, sabotaging thoughts, and situations that seem to prove your new beliefs wrong. This is not evidence that the new beliefs are false. This is evidence that you're challenging the old operating system, and it's trying to maintain control. The resistance is actually a sign you're on the right track. If you were staying comfortable in your old patterns, you wouldn't experience any pushback. The fact that you're feeling uncomfortable, that doubts are arising, that old fears are surfacing, means you're creating enough new neural activity to threaten the old networks. This is when most people quit. They interpret the resistance as evidence they're doing something wrong, when actually it's evidence they're doing something powerfully right. The key is to persist through this transition period, to keep installing the new beliefs, to keep generating elevated emotions, to keep building those new circuits until they become stronger than the old ones. Let me share a story about someone who successfully reprogrammed decades of limitation. She grew up in poverty, absorbing beliefs that money was scarce, that wealthy people were somehow wrong or bad, and that she would never escape her circumstances. These beliefs ran her life for 40 years, creating one financial struggle after another. But then she learned about subconscious programming and began the reprogramming process. Every night as she fell asleep, she would repeat new beliefs about abundance while generating the feeling of financial freedom. Every morning, she would catch limiting thoughts and consciously replace them with empowering ones. For months, nothing changed externally, but she persisted, trusting the neuroscience, understanding that new circuits take time to build. Then suddenly, everything shifted. Opportunities appeared that had never been visible before. She had ideas for income generation that had never occurred to her. People offered help and resources that seemed to come from nowhere. Within a year, her financial reality was completely different, not because external circumstances magically changed, but because her internal programming changed first. Her new beliefs created a new electromagnetic broadcast. That broadcast attracted new opportunities, and those opportunities manifested as the abundant reality she had been installing in her subconscious. This is available to you right now. The subconscious reprogramming is already beginning as you listen in this relaxed state. Your brain is approaching theta frequency. Your conscious mind is releasing its analytical grip. The new beliefs, the new possibilities, the new understanding of yourself as a powerful creator are sinking below your conscious awareness into the operating system that truly runs your life. You don't have to force this or make it happen. You simply need to continue exposing yourself to these truths. Continue generating the elevated emotions of your empowered future self. Continue catching and redirecting limiting thoughts when they arise. The 2,000 years of conditioning that taught separation lack, and powerlessness are coming to an end in your personal experience. Not because external systems have changed, but because you're changing your internal system. You're installing a new operating system that recognizes unity instead of separation, abundance instead of lack, creative power instead of victimhood. Every time you listen to these truths in theta state, you're building stronger circuits. Every time you choose an elevated emotion over a survival emotion, you're reinforcing the new patterns. Every time you catch a limiting belief and consciously replace it with an empowering one, you're pruning the old networks and strengthening the new ones. Your brain is changing right now. Your electromagnetic signature is shifting right now. Your subconscious is absorbing new programming right now. This is not something that will happen someday in the future if you do enough work, or become spiritual enough, or heal enough. This is happening in this present moment as you allow these truths to penetrate beyond your conscious awareness into the depths where real change occurs. You are literally becoming a different person at the neurological level, a person whose automatic programs support manifestation instead of limitation, abundance instead of lack, creative mastery instead of powerless victimhood. The old operating system served its purpose. It kept you safe in familiar territory. But safety and growth rarely coexist. You're ready now for a new system, one that recognizes your true nature as an electromagnetic broadcaster with direct access to infinite possibilities, one that understands your thoughts and emotions as creative tools rather than random reactions, one that positions you as the conscious architect of your reality rather than the unconscious victim of circumstances. This new operating system is being installed right now, in this moment, through the power of repetition, elevated emotion, and theta state accessibility. Welcome to your new programming. Welcome to beliefs that empower rather than limit. Welcome to an operating system that supports the manifestation formula instead of sabotaging it. The 2,000 years of limiting conditioning end here, in your personal experience, as you consciously choose to reprogram the subconscious patterns that have been running your life. You are not a prisoner of your past. You are not bound by inherited limitations. You are a neuroplastic being capable of complete transformation, and that transformation is already underway. Chapter 5. Living as a Master of Manifestation. Integrating the formula into every moment of your day. You've reached the final integration, the place where knowledge transforms into lived experience. You understand the complete formula. You recognize the quantum anatomy of creation. You're reprogramming the limiting beliefs that have held you back. Now comes the most important question you'll ever answer. Will you apply this occasionally when you remember? Or will you embody it so completely that it becomes your natural state of being? The difference between these two approaches is the difference between someone who manifests occasionally and someone who lives in perpetual flow with the quantum field, creating reality as naturally and unconsciously as breathing. The truth that will liberate you completely is this: you are always manifesting, always. Every moment of every day, your thoughts and emotions are broadcasting an electromagnetic signature into the quantum field, and that field is responding by organizing circumstances to match your signal. There is no off switch. There is no pause button. You cannot not manifest. The only question is whether you're manifesting consciously or unconsciously, whether you're creating by design or by default, whether you're broadcasting the frequency of your desired future or the frequency of your habitual past. Most people live their entire lives as unconscious manifestors. They wake up and immediately start thinking about their problems, reviewing their limitations, rehearsing their worries. They generate the same thoughts they had yesterday, which trigger the same emotions they felt yesterday, which create the same electromagnetic broadcast they sent yesterday, which attracts the same circumstances they experienced yesterday. And then they wonder why their life never changes, why they feel stuck in patterns that repeat endlessly, why their circumstances seem to have a momentum of their own that they're powerless to redirect. But you now know better. You know that those repeating patterns exist because you've been unconsciously choosing them through your consistent electromagnetic broadcast. And the moment you become conscious of this process, the moment you recognize yourself as the broadcaster, rather than the victim of broadcasts, everything available to you expands exponentially. You're no longer at the mercy of circumstances. You're the creator of them. You're no longer reacting to life. You're generating it. You're no longer hoping things will change. You're changing them through the most powerful force in the universe, conscious intention combined with elevated emotion and intelligent surrender. Living as a master of manifestation means making the three-pillar formula your default operating mode, rather than an occasional practice you turn to when you want something specific. It means waking up each morning not to review your problems, but to consciously choose who you're going to be that day. Before you reach for your phone, before you engage with external stimuli, before you allow the momentum of yesterday's patterns to capture your attention, you pause. You breathe. You set your intention for the day. You ask yourself, what frequency do I want to broadcast today? What version of myself do I want to embody? What electromagnetic signature do I want to send into the field that will organize my experiences? This morning practice doesn't need to be long or elaborate. The masters weren't spending hours in meditation or ritual. They were spending focused minutes establishing their vibrational set point for the day. You might simply close your eyes and bring to mind the reality you're creating. See it clearly. Feel it completely. Embody the person who already lives in that reality. Generate the elevated emotions of gratitude, joy, excitement, and love that this future self naturally feels. Hold this state until it feels real in your body, until your heart is broadcasting this frequency powerfully, until you feel the shift from thinking about your desired reality to actually being the person who lives in it. Then, and this is crucial, you carry that frequency with you into your day. You don't generate elevated emotion for 10 minutes and then spend the next 16 hours in stress, worry, and frustration. You become vigilant about your electromagnetic state throughout the day. You catch yourself when you slip back into old patterns of thought and emotion. You notice when you're broadcasting lack instead of abundance, fear instead of confidence, separation instead of unity. And in those moments, you exercise your power to shift. You pause, breathe, and consciously choose a different thought, a different emotion, a different broadcast. This is what it means to live as a master, rather than as someone who occasionally tries manifestation techniques. The technique is not something you do for 15 minutes. The technique is who you are all day long. Your entire approach to life becomes oriented around maintaining coherence between your desired reality and your present moment electromagnetic state. You stop allowing external circumstances to dictate your internal state. You reverse the flow of causation. You decide internally first, and then you watch external circumstances reorganize to match. Let me be specific about what this looks like in practical terms. You're driving to work and traffic is heavy. The old pattern would be frustration, stress, maybe anger at other drivers or at the situation. But you catch yourself before those emotions fully activate. You recognize that stress and frustration are broadcasting a frequency that will attract more circumstances to be stressed and frustrated about. So you consciously choose differently. You take a few deep breaths. You generate gratitude for having a car, for the safety of your journey, for this moment of transition time where you can simply be present. You might even use this time to visualize your desired reality and feel the elevated emotions associated with it. You arrive at work and someone criticizes your project. The old pattern would be defensiveness, hurt feelings, maybe self-doubt or anger. But you've trained yourself to remain conscious of your broadcast. You recognize that responding from hurt or anger would lower your frequency and create more experiences of criticism and conflict. So you choose differently. You listen without taking it personally. You extract any useful information while remaining emotionally neutral. You thank the person for their feedback and move on without replaying the interaction mentally or emotionally. You maintain your elevated state because you know that state is creating your future, and you refuse to let temporary circumstances pull you into the electromagnetic signature of limitation. You check your bank account, and it's lower than you want it to be. The old pattern would be that anxiety, worry, maybe panic about bills or expenses. These emotions broadcast lack powerfully into the quantum field, ensuring that lack continues to be your experience. But you've learned a different way. You look at the number without assigning meaning to it. It's simply data about this moment, not a statement about your worth or your future. Then you consciously generate the feeling of abundance. You feel grateful for money that's flowing to you now. You embody the emotional state of financial freedom. You trust that the universe is organizing circumstances to deliver abundance. You refuse to let a temporary number on a screen determine your electromagnetic broadcast. This is the practice. This is the mastery. Not hoping circumstances will change so you can finally feel good, but generating elevated emotions regardless of circumstances because you understand that your elevated state is what creates the circumstances. You're no longer waiting for permission from external reality to feel abundant, joyful, successful, or free. You're claiming those states internally first, broadcasting them consistently, and watching external reality rearrange itself to match. The masters who came before you lived this way constantly. It wasn't effort for them. It wasn't a technique they remembered to apply. It was their natural orientation to existence. They had trained themselves so thoroughly in conscious broadcasting that maintaining elevated states became as automatic as breathing. They had rewired their brains so completely that empowered thoughts were their default, not something they had to consciously choose. They had shifted their identity so fundamentally that being a conscious creator wasn't something they did. It was who they were. This level of mastery is available to you, but it requires something that our instant gratification culture doesn't often emphasize: consistency over time. You're not going to master this formula in a day or a week or even a month. You're reconditioning neural pathways that have been firing in limiting patterns for years or decades. You're building entirely new circuits of empowerment. You're transforming your automatic electromagnetic broadcast from survival and lack to creation and abundance. This takes practice. It takes repetition. It takes commitment to catching yourself when you slip and consciously redirecting your attention and emotion back to the frequency you've chosen to embody. But here's what makes this practice infinitely worthwhile. Every single time you consciously choose an empowering thought over a limiting one, you're strengthening the new neural pathway. Every single time you generate elevated emotion despite challenging circumstances, You're proving to yourself that you have power over your state, independent of external conditions. Every single time you maintain your broadcast of abundance, even when current reality shows lack, you're sending a clear signal to the quantum field that becomes impossible to ignore. And then something magical starts happening. The manifestations begin. At first they might be small, little synchronicities that seem like coincidences. You think about someone and they call. You need information, and it appears. You desire something, and an opportunity presents itself. These small manifestations are the universe confirming that you're on the right track, that your broadcast is being received and responded to. Don't dismiss them as coincidence. Recognize them as evidence that you're becoming a conscious creator, that the formula is working, that the quantum field is listening and organizing circumstances to match your frequency. As you continue practicing, as your new neural pathways become stronger, as your ability to maintain elevated states becomes more consistent, the manifestations become larger and more impressive. The job opportunity that seems perfect appears. The relationship you've been calling in shows up. The financial breakthrough you've been visualizing materializes. The health improvement you've been embodying becomes physical reality. These aren't miracles. These aren't lucky breaks. These are the natural consequences of you finally broadcasting a clean, clear, consistent electromagnetic signature that the quantum field can respond to powerfully. But even more importantly than the external manifestations, something shifts internally. You start experiencing a deep sense of certainty that wasn't there before. Not just intellectually, but in your bones. That you are a powerful creator. You stop doubting. You stop questioning whether this works. You've seen enough evidence in your own experience that the formula is real, that consciousness creates reality, that you have genuine creative power. This internal shift in certainty is actually more valuable than any external manifestation, because it means you've fundamentally changed your identity from powerless victim to conscious creator. Once this identity shift occurs, manifestation stops being something you try to do and becomes something you simply are. You don't wake up wondering if you should practice the formula today. You wake up as someone who naturally maintains elevated states, who automatically broadcasts empowered frequencies, who instinctively thinks from the end result rather than from current limitations. The practice has become your nature. The technique has become your being. The formula has integrated so completely that you're living it without conscious effort. This is when life becomes truly extraordinary. You're no longer grinding through your days hoping things will get better. You're flowing through experiences with a sense of ease and trust that comes from knowing you're always broadcasting, always creating, always in communication with a responsive quantum field. Challenges still arise, but you see them differently. Instead of obstacles that prove your powerlessness, you recognize them as temporary circumstances that have no power over your chosen electromagnetic state. Instead of problems to be stressed about, you see them as opportunities to practice maintaining your frequency despite appearances. People start noticing something different about you, even if they can't articulate what it is. You have a presence, a confidence, an ease that wasn't there before. You seem somehow lucky, as if good things just happen to you more often than to others. But you know it's not luck. You know it's the formula. You know it's the consistent broadcast of elevated emotion combined with clear intention and intelligent surrender. You know it's 2,000 years of hidden knowledge finally being applied in your life with the power and consistency it deserves. Let me tell you about someone who embodies this mastery completely. She's not famous. She's not wealthy beyond imagination. She's not living some fantasy life that seems impossible. She's a regular person who learned the formula and committed to living it every single day. She starts each morning establishing her frequency. Throughout her day, she catches limiting thoughts and consciously redirects them. She generates elevated emotions regardless of circumstances. She maintains her broadcast of the reality she's creating, even when current evidence suggests otherwise. The transformation in her life has been remarkable, not because one big miracle occurred, but because 1,000 small manifestations have accumulated into a completely different existence. Her relationships improved as she stopped broadcasting neediness and started embodying wholeness. Her financial situation transformed as she released lack consciousness and maintained abundance frequency. Her health enhanced as she stopped identifying with limitation and started embodying vitality. Her work became fulfilling as she aligned with purpose instead of obligation. Every area of her life shifted because she shifted the electromagnetic signature that was creating those areas. But if you asked her what changed, she wouldn't point to external circumstances. She'd tell you that she changed internally first. She became someone different at the level of thought, emotion, and identity. She stopped being the person whose life happened to them and became the person who consciously creates their life. She stopped waiting for circumstances to improve and started broadcasting the frequency of improvement. She stopped hoping the universe would grant her wishes and started recognizing herself as an active participant in the creative process. This is what's available to you right now, not someday when you're more evolved or more spiritual or more deserving. Right now, in this moment, as you listen to these words in this relaxed state, you already have everything you need. You have the knowledge of the complete formula. You understand the quantum anatomy of manifestation. You're reprogramming the limiting beliefs that held you back. The only thing left is the decision to actually live this way, to make conscious broadcasting your constant practice, to embody the frequency of your desired reality as your natural state of being. I want you to feel something right now as you rest in this peaceful state. Feel what it would be like to wake up tomorrow, already being the master manifester you're becoming. Feel what it would be like to move through your day, maintaining elevated emotions regardless of circumstances. Feel what it would be like to catch every limiting thought before it takes root and consciously replace it with an empowering one. Feel what it would be like to trust so deeply in the quantum field's responsiveness that you never doubt, never worry, never slip back into victim consciousness. Feel this not as a distant possibility, but as an immediate reality, because the more you can feel it now, the more you're installing it into your subconscious as your new operating system. This feeling you're generating right now, this embodiment of your future master self, this is the practice. This is what you return to again and again throughout your day. This elevated state, this empowered identity, this confident broadcast into the quantum field. You don't wait for circumstances to change before you feel this way. You feel this way first, and then circumstances change to match. You don't hope you'll someday become a master manifester. You choose to be one right now, in this moment, with whatever level of skill and consistency you currently have, knowing that practice will deepen your mastery, but the identity shift happens instantaneously when you decide it does. The 2,000 years of hidden knowledge are no longer hidden from you. The formula that seemed so mysterious and powerful is now understood completely. The quantum field that seemed separate from you is now recognized as the responsive medium through which your consciousness creates reality. The power that you thought existed somewhere outside of you is now known to be the electromagnetic broadcasting system of your own heart and brain. Nothing external needed to change for you to access this power. You simply needed to remember what you always were beneath the layers of limiting conditioning, a conscious creator with direct access to infinite possibilities. Your life, from this moment forward, is determined not by your past, not by your circumstances, not by what's happened to you, or what advantages or disadvantages you were born with. Your life is determined by the electromagnetic signature you choose to broadcast consistently. That signature is under your control. That broadcast is your power. That frequency is your creative tool, and you now know exactly how to use it. Welcome to mastery. Welcome to conscious creation. Welcome to life as someone who doesn't hope for change, but generates it through the most powerful force in the universe. Consciousness combined with elevated emotion and intelligent surrender. The formula is complete. The knowledge is integrated. The transformation is underway. And you, right now, in this perfect moment, are becoming the master manifester you were always meant to be. The quantum field is listening to your broadcast. What frequency are you sending? What reality are you creating? What future are you pulling into your present through the power of your thoughts, emotions, and unwavering trust in the creative process? These questions are no longer theoretical. They're the practical tools of your daily life. Answer them consciously, consistently, powerfully, and watch as reality reorganizes itself to match the magnificent signal you're transmitting. You are the formula. You are the broadcast. You are the creator. And your manifestation mastery begins right now.